Today I wanted to start a video showing you guys how we use our Brinsea egg incubator to hatch out our American Bresse eggs. So I'll be giving you guys a walkthrough of how we get this thing set up, how it runs over the span of 21 days, and what the hatch looks like at the very end. This video is not sponsored by Brinsea or any other manufacturers. This is just simply for educational purposes for those of you who are interested in checking out this incubator. We have used this one in the past and have been super happy with it. It's always been super reliable, so we're hoping that this round goes exactly the same way. So this is the Brinsea Ovation EX 56 egg incubator. So it has a capacity of 56 eggs. Now I know that that depends on the size of the eggs. This can hatch things from like quail eggs all the way up to like turkey eggs, and I think maybe even bigger eggs than that. But we've only ever hatched chicken eggs in this, and I don't feel like our Bresse eggs, we could fit 56 in here. It would be very snug, but it does have the capacity to hold more of your smaller size eggs. Okay, so this is what the inside of the incubator looks like. It's got grooves for holding on to your egg baskets here. They just fit right inside of here. And then there is this arm that sits on one side. It's going to help to keep your egg baskets rocking. This gently mimics like what the mother hen would do. The eggs are not gonna sit completely still the entire time of incubation. It helps to make sure that the heat and humidity is even all the way around. So there are different settings. The manual will tell you what to set it on for whatever you're hatching. I think ours rotates maybe every 45 minutes or something like that, and it just does a very gentle shift to one side or the other. There are these grates that go on the sides of the incubator, just like this. There are actually humidity absorbers that come with the incubator whenever you buy it, and you can buy replacement ones. I have actually found that I can just use paper towels in there and it works just fine. I just fold it up to fit inside of this crevice here and put the grate back over it. This is to catch any of the humidity that drips off the lid. Over time, you'll see that some water kind of catches in the lid of the incubator, and it will just collect inside of these little drains here. And then once the incubation is over, you can just take these paper towels out and just throw them away. I've actually moved the incubator into the dining room because there's a little bit better lighting in here, and I want you guys to be able to see up close. So to get this set up, there are these grooves on one side of the incubator here, and this will fit right down into those grooves, just like that. And then this piece here where the ridges stick up, it lines up with this piece on the inside. There's a gear there that you can see, and it rotates around, and that little gear is gonna grab on the tracks of this rotating arm. So that's how you know if you have it in the right spot. When your lid goes on, that should line up with that. So now I can go ahead and put these egg baskets in place. Okay, drop it down in place, and you can see whenever I'm moving it, how that arm is moving back and forth. Everything is good and fluid. There's nothing catching, so I know that they're in the right spot. So we have been collecting our eggs for a little over a week. I've heard that you can collect eggs for like 2 weeks and store them at room temperature and still get a good hatching rate. Of course, the longer you wait to get them into the incubator, your hatching rate does decrease from there. But we've had pretty good success collecting between 5 to like 8 days. Our hatch rate doesn't seem to vary too much within that time period. Now, whenever you are storing your eggs, this goes for when you're eating too, you always want to make sure that your eggs are point side down. And this helps to fill up the oxygen space that's inside of the eggshell, and it just helps them to last longer for eating and also for incubating. One thing that I was not really aware of when hatching eggs is that you should be looking for a certain weight on your eggs. There's an ideal range for each breed of bird. For the American Bresse, it's somewhere around 60 grams per egg is the ideal weight. Now, I have hatched eggs that were lighter than 60 grams, 54 to 60 plus grams. I've had success with that before. So what I like to do is just take a kitchen scale and this is like a little pot. I don't know what it came from, but I just set it on there and then I carry out the pot's weight. And then I just weigh each egg at a time. And if I'm close enough to that 60 gram range, they make it into the incubator. So another thing when you are going to hatch eggs is you want to make sure you are collecting eggs that do not have cracks or chips or any kind of deformity, imperfections. You don't really want them covered in a ton of poop. This one got some mud, probably from the chicken's feet. We've had really wet days here recently, but that I'm not too worried about. If it's caked and covered with mud and poop, then you don't necessarily want to be baking that inside of your incubator. It can obviously smell really bad. It can make a habitat for disease and that kind of thing. So you definitely don't want that going on inside of your incubator. All right, so we filled up the egg baskets that we had in place pretty much perfectly. So now I'm gonna go ahead and move this back into place before I set up the rest of it, because once I get it going, I don't really wanna move it and cause any more disturbance at that point. There it goes. I'm going to remove this little casing off the side. There is a tube that feeds through here, this rubber tube here, and this is what's going to pull the water into your incubator to supply it with its humidity over the incubation period. If you have a brand new machine, you'll have to go through the setup of how to set this up. But every time after that, you shouldn't have to redo it. They sometimes will get dry rotted in there, this tubing. We've had that happen before. So I'm going to take the tip of this straw and put it into my water here. Like I said, I've got filtered water, and this is a half-gallon jar. So make sure the straw is fully submerged inside of the water and not flipped up and sucking air out of there. Okay, my incubator is all set up here. I've got the eggs in their baskets. I've got the arm in place. I've got the water in place. Everything looks good, so I'm ready to go ahead and plug it in and get it going. To go up through this here. Okay, and immediately it turns on and gets to work. Settings for poultry: the temperature needs to be 99.5 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 37.5 Celsius. The humidity needs to be 45%. The turning interval is 45 minutes. Cooling is turned off. That is kind of it for the next 21 days. So I'll give you guys an update. A few days in, we'll probably take a couple out and maybe candle them and see how they're doing. Otherwise, you don't want to disturb the eggs too much by taking the lid off and on, off and on. It changes the temperature pretty drastically. So if you want to candle, I usually do somewhere around 7 to 10 days just to see if there's any progress. Now we're going to just let these kind of bake away, and then I'll check in with you guys in a couple of days. We actually ended up delaying candling our eggs a little bit longer than what I usually like to do. So we were probably about 15 or 16 days into the incubation before we got them out of the incubator because we had been sick, but it was no problem. We went ahead and took them out of the incubator and took them into one of our bathrooms, which has no windows. It's a really good dark place to candle the eggs, which you want. We use this plug-in egg candler that we bought off of Amazon. We used to have another one that was battery operated, and we burnt through batteries so quick, so we invested in one that we can plug into the wall, has an LED light inside, and it works great. So now we are ready to look inside of the eggs and see what's going on, and immediately you can see some veins and some different shadows inside of the shell. This means that this egg is progressing, doing just well, and usually by this late in the incubation you can already kind of tell the shape of the bird inside, so you can kind of see its little tail and sometimes its little head and the way that it moves around in there. It's really neat to see. Usually when you candle earlier than what we are, you'll just see some veining, and that's a good sign. If you get an egg that you don't see any kind of progress in, there's no dark shadows or veins or movement of any kind, then you obviously know that that one is not viable, and so you can either take it out now and go ahead and do away with it, or if you'd rather be totally sure, you can leave it in your incubator and give it a few more days and see if anything progresses from there. Usually we'll take a pencil and just do like a check mark on the ones that have progressed, and those ones go back into the incubator and keep on cooking from there. At the time of our candling, we counted 34 out of 35 eggs to have made some progress. Okay, so we are on day 19, I believe. And I was not going to prepare our incubator for hatching until tomorrow, but I see a little pip on one of our eggs in here, so that lets me know that it's time to go ahead and get this thing ready for hatching. So what we're gonna do is open it up and work pretty quickly because we want to keep the temperature and the humidity good for these hatching eggs, so that they have what they need to be able to get out of that shell. But we're gonna remove little baskets in here and put this mat on the floor and just put all the eggs on top of the mat so that they're nice and safe and sound on the ground. So when they hatch, they will just have this foundation to run around on for a little bit. Eggs are transferred onto the hatching mat, and I have turned the humidity up to 65%, and that's important because the shell will stick to the baby if there's not enough humidity to kind of loosen it, moisten it, and get it off of them. So we will be on baby watch over the next 24 to 48 hours. so it has been about 48 hours since our first chick started hatching in here. From what we can tell, there's only maybe like 3 eggs that have not hatched in here. And we don't see any pips or cracks or anything on them, so I'm assuming that they're not going to hatch, which is a pretty good hatch rate for all the chicks that we have in here. As you can see, the lid gets really hard to see through because the humidity really builds up on it, and all of their little baby feathers stick all to it, so it makes it really difficult to see in here. But usually about 48 hours is a good time to go ahead and let these out. So we're gonna move them from here in the incubator into the garage in their brooder. Okay, so all of our chickies have arrived. We hatched 30 out of 35 eggs, which I feel like is pretty good numbers. That puts us at about 85% hatching rate, so I'm really happy with that. Our incubator did a great job muscling through for 21 days. It helped our eggs stay at the temperature and humidity that they needed for the duration of the incubation. Thank you guys for following along and watching this video and seeing from start to finish how we incubated our eggs to hatching out more of our American Bresse chickens. Be sure to subscribe to the channel to keep up with these little guys' journey. Let us know in the comments below if you guys plan on hatching any of your own eggs this spring, or if you're just getting into chickens or have any questions about them, and let's get some conversation going in the comment box below. Until the next video, we will see you guys later. Bye.